Alright, welcome back to another video here of DPS reviews of Wrath of the Lich King classes on this private server here. So just want to preface this video with saying that I am not doing the perfect rotation, and the gear I have is not fully BIS. It's just the limitation of the private server. And also, it's a private server, so things like AI for mobs and proc rates, chance on hit effects, they're all going to be different than what we get on live. So just keep that in mind as I'm going through these videos, and I'm not going to say it again, but basically everything I'm talking about is in the context of being on this private server, and in no way is attacking a target dummy for 2 minutes on your own going to indicate how much damage you're going to be doing in a raid. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of other variables involved, and this is just one way of testing it out. So, anyways, Enhancement Shaman. It's been rated as a pretty low DPS spec, but I have been hearing things in different discords and people talking about raid comps, and it looks like Shaman is just really not so good, and you only need one per raid minimum. So it's not like TBC where you want 5. And it looks like late game, the other healers are a lot better than Resto Shamans, and so word on the street is that the Enhancement Shaman will be the Shaman that you take, just because Elemental is just worse than Mages, and I think Warlocks, so there's no reason to take them. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be Enhanced. So, and yeah, so I played Enhanced in TVC, and I parsed 100 on a couple fights, and I had 99s on everything else. I got world best on High King Wolgar for about 3.5 weeks. It's the best shaman in the world at that, so I know what I'm talking about in terms of at least TVC shaman. I've never really looked into Wrath, but I have in the last half an hour or so. And so we're going to walk through the build. Enhancement gets a bunch of cool stuff and some big changes. Number one change is the totem bar. So you get these spells that you click once and you get all your totems, and you can select which totems you want in there, and you can set up 3 different ones. So really good for PvP and other situations. For us, we're just going to be using these 4 totems all the time. I'll go over that later, but that's a big change. Another big change comes from the change, the rework, like how Fire Nova works. So before it used to be its own totem, and so you'd have to weave in your Fire Nova totems and then into Magma or Searing depending on your mana, and it was a bit tedious. Now Fire Nova is just a spell you cast that it gets cast from your totem, and doesn't actually change the totem. So you can leave your Searing totem up for a minute or whatever, and just cast Fire Nova on cooldown. So yeah, I'll show you what that looks like. So you got Magma Totem, and then that's the Nova. So you can see it's still a Magma Totem. It doesn't get deleted. So that really cleans up the rotation a bit there. So that's really helpful. Another thing, Wind Shear. So Earth Shock no longer interrupts. So you got Wind Shear now. So you have a dedicated interrupt, and it's also a threat drop, which is really cool. Because Enhancement Shaman in TBC was really high on threat, and you kind of got cucked into using less damage at some points of fights because you were just gonna pull off the tanks, even if the tanks were doing their best. It's just the nature of it, but yeah, so that's great. Another huge change. I don't know if this is just a private server, but it says there's a 10-day duration on my weapon imbues, which is awesome. It was an hour before, I think. So, but yeah, basically you set these and forget them. Because of the rework of Lava Lash being included in the rotation, you no longer have to put Wind Fury on both your weapons to get that weird thing where if you had Wind Fury on both your weapons, the actual Wind Fury proc would be, instead of 20%, 36%. Now you put Flame Tongue on your offhand because Lava Lash does more damage if you have Flame Tongue, so it's just part of the rotation, and of course Wind Fury on main hand. A big change is Wind Fury Totem doesn't give people Wind Fury imbue anymore. It's been removed so long. and instead it just gives you attack speed. So now you don't have to totem twist. So totem twisting's gone. So that's another great thing that we don't have to worry about anymore. You put your totems down and that's it. You don't have to twist any wind totems anymore. You're gonna get the Agi effect from Strength of Earth totem now. They've just bundled it together. And Wind Fury totem is just a buff that you benefit from now. It's a attack speed buff. So that's great. Couple other things that they changed. They have this new talent. So instead of using Water Shield to be getting mana back, because of this talent, your auto attacks have a chance to proc your Lightning Shield procs. So before, this was useless for us because you had to get hit for it to proc, but now it's 6% chance on melee attacks. So it's another way to do damage. So using that instead of water. Another big change to the rotation for Enhancement Shaman. I already talked about Lava Lash, so this doesn't share a cooldown with Storm Strike. It's got its own cooldown, so Storm Strike on cooldown, now cast Lava Lash. They're both separate, so it's just like you have 2 Storm Strikes now, which is good. Like, nothing wrong with that. More things to click. But a big one is this thing called Maelstrom Weapons. So this is a talent deep in Enhancement. So your auto attacks generate stacks of Maelstrom. When you're at 5, it makes your next Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt instant, or a bunch of healing spells. So for us as DPS, the only thing we care about is Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning. So instant Lightning Bolts at 5 stacks, and then it removes the stack. So this is something you're just going to gain stacks of as you're attacking, and then you're going to use them primarily on Chain Lightning because it just does more damage. And you know, Chain Lightning has a cooldown, so it's usually going to be up every time Maelstrom Weapons up, so far that I've seen. So yeah, that's really interesting. I know in TBC on cleave fights, you would melee weave, so you would cast like a Chain Lightning, and as soon as it ended, you would Storm Strike and kind of do that. So you don't really have to do that anymore because you get an instant cast. So it's really helpful. A lot of things just have really cleaned up the gameplay of Shaman. So I'm really happy with that. I mean, this is not news to anyone. Wrath came out years ago, but I mean, I've never really dove into it. So, and then finally, there's just this DPS cooldown they gave us. Finally, you know, like a personal cooldown. It's the Feral Wolves. So you summon them, they come out, they're pets. And yeah, they attack. They benefit from your stats, I believe. I haven't looked into if you have to snapshot them, but we'll look into that later. If that's the case, it'll be like the Gargoyle, where when they come out, you want to make sure you have whatever buffs you can give yourself. So probably, you know, Blood Fury as an orc or any other racial, and Shamanistic Rage does end up giving you a damage buff in the tier 10 set, so you might want to snapshot that before you line it up. What's curious about it though is that they're actually pets with spells, so this is great for PvP. Because Shamans and Arenas had, like, you know, they just got destroyed in PvC. They were just so bad, especially in Enhanced. But now, like, you've got this stun. So it's a 45-second cooldown. It's like a mini Hodge, so that's really cool. So your pets can stun. They also have this, which is really neat. It's like a half a trinket clears your movement pairing effects. So all movement. So yeah, it's like a full trinket on a 32-second cooldown. Now they only last for 45 seconds, so I mean you're gonna get 1 trinket per Spirit Wolf usage. But yeah, basically you get movement speed, and it's like a trinket, so that's amazing. This leap thing is just so that they can get in range right away without having to run. And then they also have a taunt, which is kind of neat. So when you're leveling or whatever, you can taunt, or I mean, maybe you can taunt off the tank to get your wolves killed or something to like cheese a ability. But who knows? I'm not sure if this is a real taunt or if it's like a pet taunt where it just puts threat on the table. But anyways, re-equip this because it's happening sometimes. Yeah. What else is new? You're still gonna want to use your Fire Ellie totem when you can, obviously. And I'm not sure if it snapshots or anything about that, so I haven't dug too deep into the intricacies of things going on. And they've added some other stuff. I'm not going to get into it because I only play enhanced, I don't heal. But they added this, which is like a healing weapon in view, which is cool. But yeah, like I've gone over all the things that are relevant for us. So let's look at the spec. Curious thing, they've added spell crit to Thundering Strike, so that's a big buff for us. You go improve shields now because your shields are doing damage, autos, so that's good. This is the same, that's the same. Spirit weapons is the same. This is neat. Increases attack power by 1% of your intellect. So this is the opposite of mental quickness, which increases your spell power by your attack power. So it goes both ways now. So now intellect is not a wasted stat on enhance. And you'll notice some gear has intellect as like a sub stat. Like quite a bit of it actually does. So especially on your tier gear, like so you're gonna have int on your gear. So you, like this is just a great talent now overall. This increases your Wind Fury. A couple different things. So Unleashed Rage used to crit and give your party like a buff. But now it's just an aura you just always have on. You don't have to crit. That's I preferred it the other way, to be honest, just because it was cool to proc, and now it's just a static aura. But I think that's kind of lame. They have this new thing, improved Storm Strike. So when you Storm Strike, you get a bunch of mana back. So just like the Red Paladin Judgment, your Storm Strikes are gonna like top you up on mana. So you definitely want to make sure that you're hitting Storm Strike every time it's up, especially on enhance, because the enhance is just so mana hungry now. So there's that. Keep that in mind. Lava Lash. So this is an instant offhand attack, and it does extra damage if your offhand has Flame Tongue. So that's why we're actually going to be using Flame Tongue now on your offhand. Curious thing here is that it also increases your spell damage. So that's just good too. It's more stats for us. We do a lot of spell damage, so it's great. To be honest, I'm so glad it's not just double Wind Fury anymore. And there is a way to play like Frost Brand, but we're not going to get into that. But Static Shock went over this, so this is the thing that allows your shield to do some extra damage. And yeah, Shamanistic Rage is the same. And that's kind of it. They removed the hit stuff from the Resto subtree, so you don't have to go Resto subtree to get hit or any kind of totem shenanigans. It's just damage now. So very nicely they've dropped Elemental Devastation up the tree so that you can get it early on. So now when your spells are critting, so like when your Maelstrom attacks are going off, or your shocks crit, you're going to be getting 9% melee crits. So this is great. I always tried to get this in TBC, but it was just too far away and awkward. Yeah, so crit damage of your spells, and again, just like more fire damage, same as in TBC. So yeah, that's the build. In terms of glyphs, oh, these didn't save. Hold on, we're gonna change the glyphs up. These are the PvP glyphs. So definitely want to keep this one. So Feral Spirit increases your wolf's attack power by an additional 30% of your
be good.
attack power. So it's just better synergy. And then let's see where they are. We want to get Wind Fury weapon. So it's another 2% chance to proc our Wind Fury. And Storm Strike. Storm Strike increases nature damage bonus from your Storm Strike. Oh, that's something I should also mention. If you recall from TBC, other players could like steal your Storm Strike procs to make like debuffs. Now it's only you who can do it, and also you get 4 sources. So really cool. So you're just getting more damage there too.
Keep it real.
Let's install these Glyphs. Alright. So yeah, those are the Glyphs. The minor Glyphs don't increase your damage at all, so don't have to worry about that. In terms of gear, I just went with a Bistless I found online, so it's the 4-piece tier 10 set, and it looks like your expertise doesn't have to be capped on Enhancement Shaman, apparently, and our hit chance is around 10. So you want around 10 to 16 for dual wield, but at least 9 I think is the base, so that's fine. A bit more hit would be cool, but this build has a bunch of armor pen, so that's good, and also a bunch of haste. So haste scales really well on enhancement shamans, and because we're a hybrid class doing both spells and melee, you don't want to just go straight up armor pen. You want to have haste in the mix. And then attack power is just super important because it increases our spell power. So let's see, the hit rating is the same there. But yeah, we've got 32% spell crit, so that's really cool. And 2000, right on, 2000 spell power. So yeah, and then Trinkets is the Abomination and Deathbringers, and we're using this. So this is another cool thing, you don't have to carry totems around. This thing counts as a totem. And also this stacks, it's like a little buff that stacks. As for tier 10, when we hit our Maelstrom, we have a chance to get a buff, so that's cool. That's just passive damage increase. And when we Shamanistic Rage, we get a damage buff. So it just rounds out the build, nothing crazy. Nothing you have to play differently around. And yeah, so let's get into just like the rotation. And I've copied some of my weak auras over. And I play Shaman a lot better than the other classes I've tested, so this should be more interesting. But yeah. So I'm just gonna walk through what you do first, then I'll do a proper rotation. So a lot of your damage is just passive attacks. So you're gonna be getting flurry procs from crits, you're gonna get Wind Fury going off, you're gonna be getting Flame Tongue procs. So we're just attacking here. You can see our Lightning Shield's procced once. We've got Wind Fury attack, our autos, and so the rotation is pretty simple. Everything's on a 6-second cooldown, so it's really fast. But you want a Storm Strike, you want a Shock, you want a Lava Lash. Of course, you want to make sure your totems are down, and then you want to fire an orb, and you just repeat that. And when you're at 5 stacks of Maelstrom, you're gonna throw in a Chain Link. Okay, so that's pretty simple. You're going to just keep doing that, and of course we're going to twist our, well not twist, but we want to keep fire our flame shock up so that you have the dot on the target. And then in between that time, you want to be using Earth Shock. Yeah, that's it. It's a very tight rotation. There's not much room for adding anything. That's pretty much it, and it is it's tough to be 100% on, and it's, as you can see, your mana just, even with the mana back from Storm Strike, it's just a lot of mana. So a couple things to look out for is you want to make sure you're refreshing your Magma Totem. I also want to just put Searing Totem, so that if I'm Oom, I can just leave a Searing Totem on the ground, since it lasts way longer. So I have a weak aura here, this little these wings. It's when I don't have a shield on, so I gotta reapply the shield. And yeah, that's kind of it. And then for the opener and for your cooldowns, I just have Blood Fury macroed to just get 2 minutes up because there's nothing that lines up with the 2-minute cooldown. You want a Shaman Rage on cooldown to get your mana back. This is a big thing. Typically you want to Shaman Rage when your stuff's coming up on cooldowns, because it can proc off your Storm Strike and Lava Lash. So try to line that up. You'll get more mana back and more. And then obviously the new thing in our rotation is the wolves. So we want to just summon the wolves on cooldown. Try to line them up with other buffs. But like I said, I'm not sure if it's snapshots, but we will find out. And yeah, that's kind of it. So I'm going to just clear this up and do like a proper pull now. Some water. And yeah, we'll see how it does. I did test it a bit, and it is not the best DPS. And it is a lot of effort to do the DPS compared to a Ret Paladin, for instance. But yeah, I mean, it's not like it's worthless. It's definitely playable in a PvE sense. I'm not going to lust. I am going to use my Fire Ellie totem though on the pull. So, running to the fight, Flame Shock first, drop our totems, Fire Ellie, and now I'm just going to start the rotation. Shaman Ridge early, Ultra. See, we're at like 6.1k damage. Refresh my dot. It's a lot to keep up with. There's a lot of procs going on, or not procs, but there's a lot of cooldowns that just like come up and you gotta get them off your screen. So having the Fire Ellie up makes it very easy because I don't have to remember to replace my fire totems with these fire fast ones. So it's just great. But yeah, you can see when we have the Fire Ellie up, the damage is really good. And hopefully, you know, healers will be healing your Ellie nowadays. You don't have to worry about that happening. I reapply my shield, I just shock this enraged. Not going to shock here because I want to get mana back. I want to get my autos as fast as I can. Reapply my fire. And yeah, 6.7k I'm doing right now, which is honestly with. I haven't tested it with the Fire Ellie being up for 2 minutes. Like obviously that's going to do way more damage than it's not here. But it's a lot of damage. This is more than any other spec I've tested. Sustained damage. Of course, it's not really fair because the Fire Ellie lasts for 2 minutes. So, like you compare that to the Gargoyle Run Holy or like Wings or some other DPS cooldown. It's just not comparable. 2 minutes of Fire Ellie up. Great. So yeah, I'm gonna do. Now we're just gonna have Magma Totem up. So 6.7k, and I expect that we're gonna fall now. We're gonna lose some steam. Running low on mana. Shaman gets the rage. Yeah, you can see it's a very tight rotation. Reapply Maelstrom Weapons. Shock. And like you really just get in a groove with Shaman, and if there's no movement going on in the fight, it's very fun. You'll be able to hit everything. But you can see if I'm doing the max damage rotation here, I will have. And it looks like you've got to be careful about that. So I got moved now. So I mean, in order to not, I would drop the Fire Nova stuff for sure. That Shaman is great. Now, let's see if that's real. We should get a bunch of mana back. And another way to conserve mana, just like the TPC, is, you know, do a Searing Totem instead of Magma Totem. It's less damage. Yeah, like I mean, now that I've tested it with the Fire Ellie, which is now only a 10-minute cooldown, so 20. that should be up for, you know, every fight. At least for like the first attempt, right? But yeah, like I'm actually quite surprised at the amount of damage that's doing. So let's just back off now and let's take a look. So pets. Let's see. Like, how much is the elemental doing? These like backported add-ons are not very good, but 4-minute fight. And I mean, it says the magma totem did more, but that can't be right. So like it's kind of like jank. It's recording Fire Nova as a different target for each type of totem it came from. So that's like, it's kind of bizarre. But majority of the damage is melee, like we would expect, followed by our weapon procs, and then, you know, like Lava Lash does way more than Storm Strike, so that's kind of interesting. Chain Lightning is big. Spirit Wolf attacks is 4.8%. Flame Shock is very low. Earth Shock's kind of low too, but fire. Yeah, the fire LE is like not in here. Which is bizarre, but clearly it's there. I'm gonna reset this and just summon my Earth LE totem. See how it records it. Okay, yeah, it's recording it now. Greater Earth Element. Yeah, it's just kind of jank. But anyways, yeah, you can see that the damage is really not bad. I'm gonna drink, and I'm gonna do another pull without the fire LE, and we'll see just how much different it is. But yeah, I mean, I can't remember what it was, but we already saw it's quite good, like at least 6k, which is honestly around the same amount of damage that most of the specs are doing that I'm testing with these parameters. Like Ret Paladin was 6k. Most of the DK specs are around 6k, some a bit higher, some a bit lower. But like, yeah, this was doing 6.7 with the fire LE totem up, which is really cool. But okay, let's try again. Everything's up. I'm not going to use the fire LE totem though. All right, here we go. Must be some tuning going on with the private server that is just not reality. Everywhere I read, shaman is the worst melee DPS, but I've tested two, and this is doing more than both of those, so I really don't know why. We'll find out. My totem fell off there for a bit. I think, but shaman is just going to pop. There it goes. Should be getting on now. Fresh toad. Fresh dot. Maelstrom Weapon is hard to, like, you're always like slightly behind on the rotation. The shield. Which does make it tough, but I mean, okay. We're at 6.8k right now. So even without the fire elite, it's really good. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's really good damage. I don't know, maybe people just aren't doing the rotation correctly. I mean, I'm not either. Like, I just let my totem fall off there for like 6 ticks. I didn't refresh my fire buff there, which I should have done. I'm gonna do that now. Haven't moved yet, which is nice. Again, totem's not down. I need to get a better record for that. But yeah, like 6.4. And it's been just about 3 minutes now, so I'm not gonna recast the bolts. You can see the damage. 6.4k right now for 3 minutes. And I'm not doing it. That's insane. Yeah, don't know what else to say. Enhancement Shaman, at least on this private server. I mean, what do you guys think? Like, a lot of it's melee damage, so I don't see any ability here proccing or doing more things than it should. Everything is, I mean, this is pretty standard. This looks just like TBC, except obviously there's spells in here that are new, but yeah, like it's 60% crit chance. I'm in endgame gear, so that makes sense. It's interesting. Anyway, there's the shaman. Let me know any comments, things I did wrong, or what I'm missing here. But yeah, its overall verdict is it's actually good. So I would really be interested to try the beta to see just how bad it is compared to this. So I'll end it here. It's been a long video.